Bullshit. That's the only word for it, really. The whole damn thing started with bullshit wrapped in a pretty bow of family obligation. It was a Saturday, the kind of Atlanta morning I'm talking about. The air is so thick with humidity you could wring it out like a dish towel. My arthritis was acting up in my knuckles, a dull, familiar ache. I was out on my screened-in porch, sitting in my favorite wicker chair that's probably older than my son, David. The steam from my cup of Earl Grey was fogging up my reading glasses. The scent of bergamot and damp earth was the only company I needed. It was peaceful. Or it was supposed to be. Then I saw it. David's car. A slightly too shiny BMW he has no business owning on his income, crunched up my gravel driveway. And of course, Brenda was in the passenger seat, fiddling with her iPhone, probably checking her Zelle balance to see if it was still 0. They got out and I could already feel a headache coming on. David, my boy, 42 years old, but still with the posture of a teenager called to the principal's office. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Brenda, on the other hand, oh, Brenda. She came at me with a smile so wide and bright it looked painful. "Helen, sweetie, you look wonderful," she chirped, air kissing somewhere in the vicinity of my cheek. I could smell her perfume, something expensive and cloying, like a funeral parlor trying too hard. I just took a sip of my tea. Brenda, David. David shuffled his feet. "Hey, Mom." They went through the motions, asking about my garden club, feigning interest in my latest tussle with the Social Security office. All fluff. I'm a retired accountant, for heaven's sakes. I spent 45 years cutting through fluff to get to the bottom line. I just waited. It didn't take long. "So, Mom," David started, staring at a loose thread on the porch railing, "Brenda and we have a bit of a situation." Brenda jumped in, placing a perfectly manicured hand on his arm. "It's not a situation, honey. It's an opportunity. A huge one. We just have a little cash flow issue." Here we go. Their business, some nonsense involving artisanal gluten-free dog biscuits, or something equally absurd, was always on the verge of either becoming a Fortune 500 company or completely imploding. It was never just chugging along. I listened as Brenda spun a tale about a big order from a boutique pet store chain, a demanding client and needing to buy organic spelt flour from a monk in Tibet. It was a snake oil pitch, and frankly, a poorly constructed one. Finally, she got to it. "We went to the bank, Helen, Wells Fargo, but you know how they are. They need collateral, something tangible." I stayed silent. I knew where this was headed. I've been on this earth for 72 years. You don't get to my age without learning to see the train coming down the tracks. "We don't need you to give us any money from your fixed income, Mom. We'd never ask that," David mumbled, his voice cracking. Bless his heart, he at least had the decency to feel shame. Brenda's eyes, however, had the predatory gleam of a hawk spotting a field mouse. "We were thinking, just for a short-term loan, to show the bank good faith, if we could borrow your jewelry collection." The air went still. My tea suddenly tasted bitter. She wasn't talking about the simple gold chain I wear every day. She was talking about the collection. My late husband Robert's mother's jewelry. The Edwardian sapphire necklace his grandfather gave his grandmother on their wedding day. The diamond brooch shaped like a starburst from the 1920s. Pieces that had been appraised, insured, and locked away in my safe for 30 years. They weren't just assets, they were ghosts. They were my connection to a family I had married into and loved. I looked at my son, my only child. He looked so tired. I looked at his wife, who was practically vibrating with anticipation. A mother's guilt is a powerful, terrible thing. You want to help, you want to fix things, it's an instinct.
It's just to secure the loan, Helen, Brenda pressed, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. We'll get it right back from the bank's vault in 90 days tops. We'll even bring you the paperwork. My accountant brain was screaming every four-letter word in the book, but my mother's heart, well, it was foolishly whispering, "It's your son." Just as I was about to formulate a very sharp, well-reasoned refusal, a deafening roar shattered the morning quiet. Brrrr. Jerry, my goddamn neighbor Jerry, decided that 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning was the perfect time to fire up his industrial-grade John Deere riding mower. The thing sounds like a 747 taking off. The noise was rattling the windows, drowning out every thought in my head. I could see Brenda's mouth moving, but all I could hear was the engine. David just winced. The noise was so overwhelming, so infuriating, that it short-circuited my resolve. I wanted them gone. I wanted the noise gone. I wanted my quiet porch back. "Fine," I yelled over the mower. "Fine." Brenda's face split into a triumphant grin. She didn't even try to hide it. She practically dragged David inside behind me. As I walked to the study, my hand trembling slightly as I worked the combination on the safe. I pulled out the heavy, dark blue velvet cases. They felt like lead weights in my hands. "Oh, Helen, thank you! You are a lifesaver, an absolute angel," Brenda gushed, taking the boxes from me before I could change my mind. Her hands closed over them with a possessive little clutch. They were out the door in less than a minute. No offer to stay for coffee. No more questions about my garden club. The BMW kicked up gravel as it sped away. The roar of Jerry's mower finally died down, and in the sudden, ringing silence, the unease I'd been pushing down came flooding back, cold and heavy. David's shame was real, I knew that. But something about the way Brenda looked at that velvet box, it wasn't about securing a loan. It was something else, something hungrier. I sat there, the smell of cut grass and gasoline hanging in the air, and I couldn't shake one single nagging question. Why?
Well, shitfire, handing over those cases felt like giving away a piece of myself. They were more than just jewelry, you see. That emerald pendant was my grandmother's, passed down on her deathbed. The diamond bracelet? David's father gave it to me on our 25th anniversary. Real ice, that bracelet. I'd always imagined passing them down to David's daughter, if he ever had one. Now here I was, practically throwing them at Brenda to shut up that infernal lawnmower. David, bless his heart, looked absolutely wretched as they turned to leave. He took my hand, his palm clammy. "Mom," he said, his voice low and choked, "we'll get it back to you, I promise. As soon as this venture takes off, the jewelry will be the first thing we reclaim, I swear." I wanted to believe him. Lord, how I wanted to believe him. He was my boy, after all. But Brenda was already halfway to the BMW, jangling the keys like she'd just won the lottery. Her Louis Vuitton bag was swinging wildly, probably empty knowing their current situation. "Of course, sweetie," I said, trying to inject some warmth into my voice despite the cold knot in my stomach. Family helps family, right? I gave his hand a squeeze. My knuckles popped, that damn arthritis acting up again. It's so very rude. As they walked away, I noticed Brenda fiddling with her phone. She was holding it up, pointed in my direction. Probably taking one last photo of the old lady in her jewelry, I thought. "Say cheese, Mama Parker, you're going viral." She likely wanted to post some humble brag on that Instagram thing all the kids are using these days. I even managed a small, brittle smile and a little wave. David just gave me a sad, apologetic look before getting into the car. They backed out of the driveway, tires spitting gravel, and then they were gone. I stood there on the porch, feeling the late afternoon sun on my face, but it didn't warm me. It just highlighted the dust motes dancing in the air, making everything seem faded and old, like me. The silence that descended was almost deafening. It pressed in on me, heavy and suffocating. I went back inside, the velvet case's impressions still visible on the dusty shelf in the safe. I should really get someone in to clean that thing out, but truthfully, I didn't want anyone poking around in my private matters. I went to the kitchen and put the kettle on. Earl Grey. Always soothes the nerves, you know. As I waited for the water to boil, I replayed the scene in my head. David's shame, Brenda's something else entirely. It was more than greed, it was a raw, desperate hunger. That image of her filming me kept nagging at me too. At first I dismissed it as just another one of those millennial quirks. Back in my day, you respected your elders. You certainly didn't film them without asking. But the more I thought about it, the more unsettling it became. Why film me specifically? And why at that moment? Maybe she thought she could sell the video to some tabloid, old widow's generosity caught on camera. Or maybe, God forbid, she was planning something even more sinister. These days you hear about scams targeting seniors all the time. They call it elder abuse, and it's a booming business for those snake oil salesmen. I poured my tea, added a splash of milk, and took a slow sip. The familiar aroma usually comforted me, but today it just tasted bitter. I walked over to the window, looking out at the now perfectly manicured lawn. Jerry did a good job, bless his heart. He's a good kid. Always polite, always on time. I should remember to tip him extra this Christmas. I should write myself a note, actually. I still use a paper checkbook, you know. I just don't trust all that Zelle and Venmo nonsense. It's too easy to lose track of things. My gaze drifted back to the empty driveway. That BMW was probably halfway to some pawn shop by now. David was probably already regretting his promise. And Brenda? What was
Well, shitfire, I muttered to myself, the Earl Grey now gone completely cold. I tell you, sweeties, you think you know your own children. You raise them, you scrimp and save for them, you worry yourself sick over them, and then they pull something like this. Weeks went by. Weeks of polite phone calls, forced smiles, and Brenda's, "Oh, so sweet, we're just so grateful, Helen. The money really helped." Helped with what? I wanted to scream. Their struggles? Living in that McMansion with the leased BMW? Then, the call came. It was a man, voice gravelly, identified himself as Morty, said he owned a pawn shop down on Buford Highway. "Mrs. Parker?" he asked, his voice hesitant. I think I might have something of yours." He described the necklace first, the Art Deco diamond one, the one my Edward had given me on our 10th anniversary, then the earrings, the sapphire drops, a gift from my mother. He even described the little enamel brooch, the one shaped like a Scotty dog. Lord, I hadn't worn that thing in years. My blood ran cold, stone cold. How did you get my name?" I managed to croak out. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. "Anonymously," he said. "Let's just say I don't take kindly to folks getting ripped off, especially not sweet old ladies. And that young buck who brought those pieces in, well, he looked like he was about to sweat bullets. Gave me a bad feeling. Something didn't sit right." He told me the name on the pawn ticket. David Parker. My David Parker. My son. He didn't have to tell me much more. I already knew. They'd pawned it. Every single piece. The jewelry I'd entrusted to them. The jewelry that held so many memories. Gone. Sold for a pittance, I'm sure, to feed their... whatever it was they were feeding. Morty offered to hold the pieces for me. "I'll keep them safe, Mrs. Parker. You just let me know what you want to do." "Thank you, Morty," I said, my voice trembling but hardening. "Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll be in touch." I hung up the phone, and for a moment, I just sat there, staring at the wall, numb. Then the anger came.
A slow burn at first, then a roaring inferno that threatened to consume me whole. The gall, the utter disrespect, to lie to my face, to take advantage of my generosity, it was beyond comprehension. They were coming over for Sunday dinner. They did every week. Brenda always brought some Pinterest-worthy casserole that was either bland or tasted like cardboard. David would drone on about his work, something to do with hedge funds that I never understood and frankly didn't care to. I decided right then and there I would play along. I would act as if nothing was amiss. I would smile, I would nod, and ask about their struggles with feigned concern. I would let them dig their own grave. The doorbell rang precisely at 1 p.m. on Sunday, prompt as always. David looking as handsome as a young buck can in his Brooks Brothers suit, and Brenda with that Stepford wife smile plastered on her face and a covered casserole dish in her hands. "Mom," David boomed, giving me a hug that reeked of expensive cologne, "you're looking great." "Oh, Mother Parker," Brenda cooed, giving me a peck on the cheek. "This is a new recipe I found. I think you'll just love it. It's a butternut squash and quinoa bake. So healthy." Right, like that was the point. Come in," I said, ushering them into the living room. My voice was steady, betraying none of the fury simmering beneath the surface. "Let me take that casserole, sweetie. And David, why don't you pour us all a glass of iced tea?" They settled in, making small talk about the traffic on 75 and Brenda's latest yoga class. David asked about my arthritis, bless his heart. Brenda started filming me again with her iPhone while I was talking. This time, I stared directly at the lens with a wry smile. "Go ahead, sweetie, film away." As David handed me my tea, I took a sip and said, "So," setting down the glass with a deliberate clink, "how's that financial situation you two were in?" They exchanged a quick, nervous glance. "Oh, you know, Mom," David said, his voice a little too casual. "Things are getting better. We're managing." Brenda chimed in, her voice dripping with insincerity. "Yes, Mother Parker, your generous gift really made all the difference. We were able to take care of some pressing bills, and now we're back on track." I smiled, a tight, brittle smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Oh, that's wonderful to hear, just wonderful, because I was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, you two had done something foolish." David shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Brenda's smile faltered. "Foolish? What do you mean, Mom?" David asked, his voice rising slightly. I leaned forward, my eyes narrowed. "Well, David, sweetie, you tell me, because I just got a call from a very nice man named Morty, and he seems to think you've been trying to sell something that doesn't quite belong to you anymore. Or, should I say, belongs to me, but you thought you could get away with it. Now,
Lord, the looks on their faces. You would have thought I'd just accused them of treason. David went pale as a sheet, stammering like a schoolboy caught with a cheat sheet. Brenda is a different breed. That woman could lie her way out of a locked bank vault. Her plastic smile just tightened a notch. "Morty?" she said, her voice a little too high, a little too bright. "Mother Parker, I don't believe we know anyone named Morty. Are you feeling all right? Perhaps you're a bit confused." And right there, that was it. That was the moment the whole strategy clicked into place in my head. Confused. Oh, honey, I'll give you confused. I let my shoulders slump just a little. I brought a hand to my temple and rubbed it, putting on my best frail old lady performance. "Oh, goodness," I sighed, letting my voice waver.
Marty, Morty, you know, the man from the garden club? No, that's not right. He sells insurance. I looked from David's worried face to Brenda's calculating one. My apologies. This arthritis medication, you know, it makes my head all fuzzy sometimes. I must have dreamed it. You could feel the tension leave the room. It was like they'd been holding their breath and finally let it out in one big, condescending puff of air. "Oh, Mom," said David, his relief palpable. He reached over and patted my hand. "You gave us a scare. We were worried about you." Bullshit, I thought. You were worried about yourselves. From that day on, I started the performance of a lifetime. An Oscar-worthy portrayal of a dotty old woman losing her marbles. It started small. I'd misplace my reading glasses, while they were perched on my head, of course. I'd ask David what time his son's soccer game was, 5 minutes after he had just told me. Each time I'd get that same look from them, a shared, pitying glance over my head that said, "She's really starting to go." Brenda, bless her black little heart, leaned into it the hardest. "Now, Mother Parker, are you sure you locked the back door? Let me check for you," she'd say, her voice dripping with the kind of syrupy sweetness that can only mask pure acid. They started helping me with my checkbook, balancing it for me because my old eyes must get tired. Me, a woman who balanced ledgers for a Fortune 500 company for 40 years without ever being off by a single penny. The audacity was almost impressive. All the while, I was playing my own game. While they were treating me like a houseplant that occasionally spoke, I was on my laptop. Thank God for Amazon Prime. You can get anything on there, you know? I did my research, I read reviews, and I ordered 3 of the smallest, most discreet little cameras you've ever seen. They called them nanny cams. How fitting. I was about to catch 2 very overgrown, very greedy children being very, very naughty. When the package arrived, I hid it under the sink like it was contraband. That night, after they'd left, after patting me on the head and reminding me to take my pills, I went to work. My hands didn't shake. My mind, the one they thought was turning to mush, was sharp as a tack. I felt a surge of adrenaline I hadn't felt since I caught an executive trying to embezzle funds back in '88. The first camera went in the living room, nestled deep inside a bowl of dusty potpourri on the mantelpiece. Its tiny black lens looked just like a dried clove. The second one went into my study, tucked behind a leather-bound copy of War and Peace on the bookshelf, aimed directly at the small safe where I kept my important papers. And the third was my masterpiece. I put it in the hallway, disguised as a smoke detector. It had a perfect wide-angle view of the front door, the study door, and the entrance to the living room. My own little surveillance state. I even got them all hooked up to an app on my phone. Me, at 72, setting up a secret spy network in my own home. My late husband, bless his soul, would have been tickled pink. I sat there in my armchair, the house silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and that damn rattling the AC unit makes when it kicks on. Something I had asked David to look at for months. I took a sip of my tea and looked at the 3 blank screens on my phone. The stage was set. The players were in position. Now all I had to do was wait for them to come back and show their true colors. And I had a feeling I wouldn't have to wait long, because what exactly would my little cameras...
Lord, give me strength. I swear,
Watching those grainy images on my phone was almost worse than the day my Herald passed. Almost. The camera in the hallway, that little smoke detector spy, captured everything. And I mean everything. It started subtly. David, bless his heart, supposedly coming home from work looking so tired, according to Brenda. "Oh, Mommy, he works so hard," she'd coo, batting those fake eyelashes of hers. But the camera showed a different story. He'd saunter in, toss his briefcase, a cheap pleather thing I'd seen on sale at Macy's, onto the floor and head straight for the fridge. Not for water, mind you. No, he was grabbing a beer. A second beer before dinner, I might add. Back in my day, a man waited until after supper for his little indulgences. But standards, honey, they've just plumb disappeared. Then Brenda would slink in, all smiles and sunshine, and they'd have this little pantomime of domestic bliss. But the cameras don't lie. I watched them whispering in the living room, huddled together like two scheming squirrels. Couldn't hear a thing, of course, but I could read their lips, having spent my fair share of time observing Harold when he thought I was in the garden and he was sneaking cookies. Finally, one afternoon, I got my reward. I was napping, conveniently, while they thought they had the house to themselves. I saw David pacing back and forth in the living room, back and forth like a caged tiger. Then Brenda came in carrying my jewelry box, my grandmother's jewelry box that I'd entrusted to them. My blood ran cold. She opened it and David started pawing through the necklaces and bracelets. "Are you sure about this, Brenda?" he asked, his voice low and anxious. "Of course I'm sure, David," she hissed back. "Mama dearest is getting forgetful. We need to think about the future, about us. And this stuff is just sitting here gathering dust. Besides," she added with a sickeningly sweet smile, "it's for her own good, isn't it? We're just planning ahead. She won't even remember it's gone." I nearly choked on my Earl Grey. The audacity, the sheer unadulterated gall. Then came the part that made my stomach churn. They started talking about the house, my house, the house I'd lived in for 40 years, the house where where Harold and I celebrated anniversaries and Christmases. "Once she's, incapacitated," Brenda said, her voice dripping with fake concern, "we can sell the house. It's worth a fortune, David. Think of the possibilities. We could finally get that place in Scottsdale." "But, Mom," David mumbled, sounding almost guilty, a flicker of humanity, perhaps. "Don't be ridiculous, David," Brenda snapped. "She'll be in assisted living. She won't need it. And frankly, she's just rattling around in this big old place all by herself. It's not safe for her." "But what if she gets better?" David asked. "What if—" "Oh, sweetie," Brenda laughed, a cold, brittle laugh that sent shivers down my spine even watching it on my phone. "Oh, sweetie," she patted his cheek condescendingly, "don't you worry your pretty little head about that. We'll make sure she gets the best possible care, and sometimes the best care involves a little, medication." Medication. The implication hung in the air, thick and suffocating. They were planning to drug me, to steal my house, to ship me off to some godforsaken nursing home to rot. And all for what? So they could buy a fancy house in Arizona and live the high life on my Social Security and Harold's pension. I wanted to scream. I wanted to burst into the living room and slap them both silly, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed more. I needed concrete evidence, enough to send them both to jail, enough to make sure they never hurt anyone again. Because, honey, messing with an old lady on a fixed income might seem like an easy target, but they were about to learn that some old ladies have a few tricks up their sleeves, and I had just begun. The worst part? I'd seen them using Zelle on their iPhones. I didn't even know what Zelle was until recently. Now, it's my new best friend for transferring money and tracking where it goes. So I sat there, sipping my now cold tea, my hands shaking not from age, but from pure
unadulterated rage. The blood was up now, and I was ready to do what needed to be done. I had to keep playing the doddering old fool, letting them think they were getting away with it. But inside, I was a coiled spring, ready to strike, and I knew exactly how to do it. My mind, after all, was as sharp as ever, no matter what they thought. I needed an accomplice, someone outside the family, someone I could trust implicitly, someone who knew the law, someone like my great-niece Sarah. She's a sharp cookie, that one, a lawyer no less. I picked up my phone, my finger hovering over her number. Time to bring in the reinforcements. But what exactly would I tell her? And how would I convince her to help me take down her own cousin and his wife? This was going to take...
To hell with careful planning. No, I mean it. Sometimes you can plan and strategize until you're blue in the face, but there are moments when you have to move fast before the enemy even knows you're on the battlefield. Calling Sarah was the right next step, but it wasn't the right first step. An accountant, even a retired one, knows you secure the capital assets before you do anything else. And my biggest asset, the one thing my late husband Robert and I poured our souls into for 45 years, was our house. That beautiful brick Tudor on Peachtree Battle Avenue. And I just knew, that was their endgame. The jewelry, the checking account, that was just the appetizer. The house was the main course, and I'd be damned if I was going to let them serve it up on a silver platter. So, the next morning, I didn't call Sarah. Not yet. Instead, I put on my Sunday best, a nice tweed blazer and a string of my other pearls, and drove my old Buick down to the First Atlanta main branch downtown. The place still smells the same as it did 30 years ago. Old money, floor polish, and the faint metallic scent of the vault. It's the kind of place that feels solid, permanent, the kind of place you go when you need to make something permanent, too. I had an appointment with a young man named Mr. Henderson. He couldn't have been a day over 30. Flawless suit, teeth so white they looked like they'd been bleached, and the kind of earnest, can-do attitude that sets my teeth on edge. You know the type. Thinks he's a real whippersnapper because he can work an iPad without getting his fingerprints all over the screen. He called me Mrs. Parker with this cloying sweetness, like I was a fragile piece of china about to shatter. "So, Mrs. Parker," he said, leaning forward with a professionally concerned look on his face, "you mentioned over the phone you wanted to discuss estate planning?" "Something like that, sweetie," I said, giving him my most harmless grandmotherly smile. "I've been thinking. I'm getting on in years, and I want to make sure my affairs are in order, specifically the house." His eyes lit up. Bingo. He probably saw a fat commission in his future, maybe helping my grieving son sell the property later. Poor boy. I let him drone on for a few minutes about reverse mortgages and equity lines of credit, all the snake oil they sell to people my age. I just nodded and sipped the lukewarm water he'd offered me, letting him think he was in control. Finally, I held up my hand, my knuckles aching a bit from the morning damp. "That's all very interesting, Mr. Henderson, but I have something else in mind." I slid a piece of paper across his polished mahogany desk. On it were the incorporation documents I had drawn up online last night. I want to transfer the deed of my house into a living trust, effective immediately. He blinked. "A trust? Of course, we can certainly. What is the name of the beneficiary?" I leaned forward, my smile gone. The beneficiary is a charitable organization. It's called the Atlanta Geriatric Support Foundation. The look on his face was worth the price of admission. The gears were turning in that young head of his, but they were grinding. A charity? Not the loving son. This wasn't in his sales script. He stammered for a moment, trying to find the right words.
That's very generous of you, Mrs. Parker. Isn't it? I said, my voice as cool and hard as the marble floors outside. I've always believed in giving back to the community, especially to those who support our city's elders. The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. I was the elder who needed supporting, and this was how I was doing it. We spent the next hour signing papers. My arthritis screamed a little as I gripped the pen, my signature a bit shakier than it used to be, but each stroke felt like a victory. While he was shuffling through a thick stack of documents, I had another thought. You know, Mr. Henderson, I said, feigning a bit of doddering confusion, while I'm here, I have a safe deposit box, don't I? Number 314? It's been ages since I've looked in it. I have this old tarnished silver key for it somewhere in my jewelry box at home. He typed something into his computer. Yes, ma'am, I see it right here. Box 314. The account is in good standing. Oh, good, I said with a sigh of relief. I couldn't for the life of me remember what Robert and I put in there. Probably just old bonds and sentimental nonsense. I should really clear that out one of these days. I waved a dismissive hand. It was just a box, just an old key, nothing important. He nodded, not paying it much mind, and pushed the final document toward me, the deed transfer. I signed it with a flourish, Helen M. Parker. It was done. The house was no longer mine. It belonged to the foundation, a foundation of which I was the sole unremovable director. My home was now a fortress, and David and Brenda didn't even know a siege was coming. I walked out of that bank feeling 10 years younger. The air on the street felt cleaner. I had built the first wall of my defense. They could flatter me, they could lie to me, they could even keep stealing from my Social Security check for a little while longer, but they could not touch my home. They could claw at the bricks all they wanted, but they would never, ever own it. They thought they were closing in on the grand prize, circling like vultures who thought the kill was already weak and dying, but the prize was already gone. So I have to ask myself, with their eyes still fixed on a house they can never have, will David and Brenda even...
Land sakes, I muttered, adjusting my bifocals, which, might I add, cost more than Brenda's entire wardrobe. These blasted things are getting harder to read every day. You know, back in my day, we didn't have all this fancy legal jargon. A handshake was enough. David, bless his heart, and I use that term very loosely, leaned in, reeking of that awful cologne he favors, the one that smells like a chemical factory exploded in a department store. Now, Mom, it's all pretty straightforward. It just gives us the authority to handle your finances, pay your bills, that sort of thing. Make things easier for you. Easier for me, he says. Easier for him to siphon off every last dime of my Social Security, more like. Well, I don't know, David, I drawled, peering over the top of the documents. Seems like a lot of responsibility. You're both so busy. I knew they'd been up all night, not tending to anything important, but rather working up this scheme to steal from their own mother. Brenda, perched on the edge of the floral armchair like she was afraid she'd catch something, chirped, "Oh, Mom, it's really no trouble at all. We want to help, and you know how confusing all that paperwork can be these days." Confusing? Honey, I used to balance ledgers for a textile company that could make her eyes cross. I could spot a discrepancy down to the penny. But I played the doddering old fool, squinting and pursing my lips like I was trying to decipher ancient hieroglyphics. I hummed, tapping a manicured nail. Yes, even at 72, I get my nails done every 2 weeks. A little treat for myself. Against the top page. The printer ink smelled cheap.
This power of attorney, what exactly does it do? David launched into another explanation, but I only half listened. I was too busy admiring my handiwork. While they were busy helping me with the new iPhone, I'd swapped out the real documents for a set I'd printed myself. Almost identical, except these were, shall we say, artistically altered. My version of the power of attorney gave them the authority to, well, let's just say it involved donating all their worldly possessions to the Atlanta Zoo. I even included a clause about mandatory chimpanzee grooming lessons. I finally looked up, feigning confusion. "So I just sign here?" I asked, pointing to the designated line on the fake document. "That's it, Mom," Brenda said, practically vibrating with excitement. "Just right there." I picked up the pen, a lovely cross pen Robert gave me for our 25th anniversary. It felt heavy in my hand, a reminder of better days, of honest love. I took a deep breath. "All right," I said, my voice trembling slightly, just for effect. "If you think it's best." With a dramatic flourish, I signed the blank piece of paper I'd slyly slipped beneath the fake document. Helen M. Parker. A perfect forgery. David snatched the papers up before the ink was even dry, practically salivating. "Thank you, Mom, you're the best." Brenda gave me a quick, insincere hug, careful not to muss her hair. "We really appreciate this, Mom. You have no idea." "Oh, sweetie, you have no idea what's coming." They practically skipped out of the house, clutching the documents like they just won the lottery. Little did they know, they just signed up for a lifetime supply of monkey business. After they left, I poured myself a cup of Earl Grey, extra hot, and added a splash of milk. The aroma filled the air, a comforting reminder of normalcy in the face of this treachery. I sat in my favorite armchair, the one Robert used to sit in, and stared out the window. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lawn. It was a beautiful evening. A perfect evening for a little game of cat and mouse. I had them right where I wanted them. They thought they were so clever, so cunning, but they underestimated me. They saw a frail old woman, ripe for the picking. What they didn't see was the steel beneath the silver hair, the sharp mind honed by years of balancing budgets and outsmarting snake oil salesmen. The question now was not if I would expose them, but how. Should I let them wallow in their delusion for a little while longer, savoring their victory before yanking the rug out from under them? Or should I deliver the blow swiftly, decisively, and with maximum humiliation? I took a sip of my tea, a slow, deliberate sip. Maybe I should file a police report on my ring. I remember clearly that I had last seen it in the small velvet-lined drawer in my jewelry box. It was not there after I saw Brenda snooping. The problem is, I'm not sure if I can prove it. The possibilities swirled in my mind, each more delicious than the last. Oh, this was going to be fun. But how do I expose them in a way that's utterly...
Well, bless their hearts. They were about to get a rude awakening. The next Sunday, I invited David and Brenda over for dinner. I made Robert's favorite pot roast, mashed potatoes, the works. I even set the table with the good china, the one we only used for special occasions. The air was thick with the smell of roasting beef and simmering onions, a comforting aroma that belied the storm brewing beneath the surface. They arrived right on time, beaming smiles plastered on their faces. Brenda, of course, was wearing something new, some gaudy thing from Nordstrom, I imagine. She did have expensive taste,
especially when someone else was footing the bill. "Helen, honey, everything smells divine," she chirped, giving me a hug that felt as genuine as a $3 bill. "Just trying to keep you young folks fed," I said, patting her hand. "Come on in, dinner's almost ready." David, ever the dutiful son, offered to help me carry things from the kitchen. "Mom, you shouldn't be doing all this yourself," he said, feigning concern. "You should be resting." "Oh, hush, David," I said, waving him off. "An old woman like me needs to keep busy, or I'll start to rust. Besides," I added with a sly wink, "I enjoy cooking for my family." We sat down at the table and I offered a little prayer. The whole scene could have been a Norman Rockwell painting, except, of course, for the tension crackling in the air. I could practically feel it buzzing around me like a swarm of angry bees. "So," I said, once everyone had taken a bite, "how's that, business venture going?" David and Brenda exchanged a quick glance. "Oh, David said a little too casually, "ups and downs, but we're confident it'll all work out." "That's wonderful, sweetie," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm so glad my little contribution could help you on your way." Brenda's smile faltered slightly. "You're too generous, Helen. We really appreciate it." I set down my fork with a clatter. "Speaking of generosity," I said, leaning forward, "I've been doing some thinking." David swallowed hard. "About what, Mom?" "About my house," I said, my voice now low and steady. "This house that Robert and I built together, the one that's been in our family for over 50 years. "What about it?" Brenda asked, her voice a little too high-pitched. "Well," I said, "I've been considering selling it." David nearly choked on his mashed potatoes. "Selling it, Mom? You can't be serious." "Oh, but I am, honey," I said, enjoying their discomfort. "I'm getting old, This big old house is too much for me to handle. I think it's time for me to downsize, maybe move into a nice little condo somewhere." But where would you go?" David stammered. "Oh, I don't know, maybe Florida. I hear the weather's lovely down there. Or maybe I'll just travel the world, see all the things Robert and I never got to see." Brenda slammed her fist on the table. "You can't do that," she shrieked. "This is your home. You can't just sell it." "And why not, darling?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's my house, isn't it? I can do whatever I want with it." David, sensing the shift in power, tried a different tactic. "Mom, you're not thinking clearly," he said, his voice laced with concern. "You're just lonely. We can help you. We can move in here and take care of you." "Oh, really?" I said, my voice dangerously soft. "Is that what you want, sweetie? To move in here and take care of me?" "Of course, Mom," he said, his eyes wide with false sincerity. "We just want what's best for you." I let out a low chuckle. David," I said, "I've been doing a little investigating of my own." Their faces paled. "I know about the pawn shop," I said, my voice now as sharp as a shard of glass. "I know about the jewelry, and I know about your little plan to get your hands on my house." The silence in the room was deafening. Brenda started crying uncontrollably. "Helen, please, it's not what you think." "Oh, I think it is, honey," I said, reaching into my pocket. "In fact, I know it is." I pulled out my iPhone and pressed play. The muffled voices of David and Brenda filled the room, their words clear and damning. "We just have to wait her out. Once she's gone, the house is ours. The jewelry will give us a nice little nest egg until then. She's getting senile anyway, she won't even notice." David and Brenda sat there, speechless, their faces ashen. The recording went on, their treachery laid bare for all to hear. I let it play for a few minutes, savoring their humiliation. When it was finally over, I turned off the phone and looked at them, my eyes filled with a mixture of anger and disappointment. "Well," I said, "what do you have to say for yourselves?" Brenda started crying uncontrollably. David just sat there staring at the table, his face buried in his hands. I stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the setting sun. "Get out," I said, my voice cold and hard. They didn't need to be told twice.
They scrambled to their feet and fled, leaving behind a half-eaten pot roast and a shattered illusion of family. As the door slammed shut behind them,
Well, isn't that a sight? I said, turning back from the window, the Atlanta sunset painting streaks of orange and purple across the sky. 2 grown adults running away like I'd threatened them with, oh, I don't know, actual work? I chuckled, but it was a hollow sound, even to my own ears. The aroma of that pot roast, now tainted with their deceit, hung heavy in the air, made me want to gag. I took a sip of my now cold Earl Grey, the bergamot doing little to soothe my nerves. You think that's the end of it, don't you? I asked the room, knowing my friends couldn't actually answer, but needing to say it out loud. You think I've won? Sweetie, bless your heart, you haven't been dealing with David and Brenda long enough. I set the teacup down with a clink that echoed in the suddenly too large space, because I haven't told you the best part yet. I paused for dramatic effect, enjoying the memory of the look on their faces just moments ago. I called the police, before all this, filed a report about the jewelry. Fraud, attempted theft, you name it, I threw it at them. Brenda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. David, that young buck, finally looked up, his face a mask of fury. You what? He sputtered. Oh yes, darling, I alerted the authorities to your little scheme. They were quite interested in the pawning receipts, I can assure you. Especially since the pawn shop owner recognized your sweet little face from the security footage. Seems he's got a soft spot for old ladies being taken advantage of. Imagine that. David shot to his feet, knocking over his chair with a crash. You can't do this. We're your family. Family doesn't steal from family, David, I retorted, my voice hardening. And family certainly doesn't plot to stick me in some home so they can inherit my house before I'm even cold. I've still got a few good years in me, thank you very much. Plenty of time to spend your inheritance on trips to Europe with a handsome Italian tour guide. Brenda, sniffling and wiping her eyes with the back of her hand, tried a different tactic. Helen, please, we were just desperate. We've been having a hard time. You know how the economy is. Desperate enough to rob your own mother? I scoffed. Don't give me that sob story, Brenda. I worked as an accountant for 40 years. I know a bad investment when I see one. And honey, you and David are a disastrous investment. I watched them squirm, feeling a small measure of satisfaction. But it was fleeting. I knew David, and I knew he wouldn't give up easily. He was too much like his father, always looking for the easy way out. The police are probably on their way right now, I continued, pressing my advantage. I'm sure they'll just love to hear all about your plans for my house. David's face contorted with rage. You old witch, you think you've won, don't you? You think you're so clever? Oh, I know I'm clever, sweetie. You're just finding out now. But Brenda had stopped crying. A strange, almost triumphant look flickered across her face. That's when I felt a cold dread creep into my bones. Something wasn't right. You really think that's it, Helen? Brenda asked, her voice suddenly calm, almost smug. You really think you've got us? I narrowed my eyes, studying her. What are you talking about? Brenda let out a short, humorless laugh. Oh, Helen, you're so easy to manipulate when you're worried about your precious antique jewelry. We've had the power of attorney for months. We can do whatever we want with your house. You think the police will care about some fake jewelry when we legally control your assets? David, recovering from his outburst, started to grin. Looks like you're the one who's been outsmarted, Mom. The room seemed to spin. The sunset, which had seemed so beautiful just moments ago, now mocked me with its vibrant colors. I had been so busy trying to outsmart them, so focused on the small details that I'd missed the bigger picture. I'd given them the keys to my kingdom. I stared at them, my mind reeling. How could I have been so blind, so foolish? I felt a wave of despair wash over me, threatening to drown me. They might be facing charges for the jewelry, sure, but they had the power of attorney. They could sell my house, empty my bank accounts, and leave me with nothing.
"You haven't won," Brenda said, her voice cold and triumphant. "Not by a long shot." As they turned and walked out the door, leaving me standing alone in my living room, I couldn't help but,
Lord, give me strength. Here I was, sitting in that sterile courtroom, the air thick with the scent of old paper and even older money. You know the smell, honey, like a bank vault mixed with mothballs. It wasn't exactly helping my arthritis either. I watched Brenda, that viper, practically preening as she approached the judge's bench. David, that spineless young buck, trailed behind her like a puppy dog, all nervous energy and fake concern. They looked like they were already measuring the drapes in my house. Brenda, all smiles and fake sweetness, presented the power of attorney document. It was crisp, official-looking, and signed with my name. My name, my own damn signature, staring back at me like a betrayal. "Your Honor," she cooed, her voice dripping with honey. "As you can see, Mrs. Parker granted us power of attorney several months ago. We have been diligently managing her affairs, ensuring her comfort and well-being." Comfort and well-being. Bullshit! They've been diligently managing my bank account into their own damn pockets. That's what they've been doing. The judge, a young whippersnapper who probably thought Matlock was a historical drama, adjusted his glasses and peered down at the document. He looked like he was about to rule in their favor. My stomach churned. I felt like I was going to be sick. I thought about my checkbook, my meticulously balanced budget, my carefully planned retirement. All gone. Just like that. Poof. "Mrs. Parker," the judge said, turning to me, "do you deny signing this document?" Deny it? How could I deny it? I'd signed something. I remembered Brenda's insistent, "Just a formality, Helen, sweetie." I remembered the soothing tea, the endless forms. I'd been so focused on protecting the jewelry, I hadn't even considered that they were after something bigger. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. My throat was dry, my tongue felt like sandpaper. I just shook my head slightly, defeated. Brenda's smile widened even further, if that was even possible. The audacity! "Your Honor," she continued, smooth as silk, "we also have additional evidence that speaks to Mrs. Parker's current mental state." My heart leaped into my throat. What now? David, fidgeting beside her, pulled out his iPhone. Of course it was an iPhone. Back in my day, folks had a little respect. Brenda took the phone from him, her eyes gleaming with malice. "This video," she announced, holding the phone up for the judge to see, "was taken just last week on Mrs. Parker's porch." The judge frowned, but nodded for her to proceed. David pressed play. There I was, on my own damn porch, looking confused and, well, old. I remembered that day. It was right after that salesman came by trying to sell me some kind of fancy water filtration system. He went on and on about reverse osmosis, and honestly, my mind just started to wander. He was a real snake oil salesman. I remember asking him if he knew how to use Zelle. The whole thing made my head hurt. On the video, I was rambling about, oh God, I can't even repeat it. Something about the squirrels stealing my bird seed and how I thought I saw Elvis in the grocery store. I sounded like a confused old woman. I wanted to crawl under a rock and die. Brenda's voice, amplified by the phone speaker, filled the courtroom. "As you can see, Your Honor, Mrs. Parker is clearly not in her right mind. She is not capable of managing her own affairs. It is our duty, as her loving family, to protect her from herself." Loving family? Those wolves in sheep's clothing? The judge watched the video, his expression unreadable. He glanced at me, then back at the screen. I could see the wheels turning in his head. He was buying it. He was actually buying it. My vision blurred. The courtroom started to spin again. I felt a cold dread creep over me, a feeling of utter helplessness. They had me. They had the power of attorney, they had the video, they had the judge eating out of their hands. They were going to take everything.
my house, my savings, my dignity, everything I had worked for my entire life. Gone! As the judge cleared his throat, preparing to speak, I closed my eyes, bracing myself for the inevitable. I thought about my late husband, George, and how disappointed he would be in me for letting this happen. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the fluorescent lights and the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall. Each tick was a hammer blow, driving another nail into the coffin of my independence, my fixed income, my life. I was trapped, utterly and completely trapped. The judge finally spoke. Based on the evidence presented, including the power of attorney document and the video recording, the court... He paused, and in that moment, a tiny spark of...
Oh, for crying out loud, I muttered under my breath, barely audible. Loving family. Please. They wouldn't know love if it slapped them upside the head with a frozen trout. The judge, bless his heart, was watching that video with the same intensity I watched the Braves in the bottom of the ninth. Except this wasn't a game. This was my life, being played out on a grainy screen, twisted and manipulated by my own flesh and blood, my own son. He glanced at me, a quick, almost apologetic look, I thought, before turning back to the spectacle of my supposed mental decline. I could practically smell the cheap perfume Brenda wore wafting from the prosecution's table, always overpowering that woman, like she's trying to mask something rotten. And rotten it was. The whole damn thing. The courtroom started to spin again, that familiar dizziness threatening to send me sprawling. I gripped the arms of my chair, knuckles white, trying to anchor myself. It was like being on a tilt-a-whirl at the county fair, only instead of cotton candy and laughter, I was surrounded by betrayal and the sickening realization that my own child saw me as nothing more than a walking ATM. They had me. I could feel it in my bones. That slick young lawyer of theirs, probably fresh out of law school, with his fancy suit and his condescending tone. And David, my darling David, looking so concerned, so innocent. He'd always been good at playing the victim, that boy. Even when he was knee-high to a grasshopper, he could turn on the waterworks and get away with murder. "Mom, Timmy took my Tonka truck!" Even if Timmy was halfway across the sandbox. They were going to take it all, every last penny. My little bungalow on Peachtree Street, where I'd spent the best years of my life with George, filled with memories and laughter and the scent of his pipe tobacco. Gone. My nest egg, carefully built over decades of scrimping and saving, watching every dime, clipping every coupon. Gone. My peace of mind. Definitely gone. I thought about my upcoming Social Security check and how it would never arrive in my Wells Fargo account. The cold dread intensified, settling in my stomach like a lead weight. I remembered the day George died, the emptiness that swallowed me whole. This felt even worse. At least then, there was grief, a natural and understandable pain. This was a deliberate, calculated assault, a robbery disguised as concern. As the judge cleared his throat, that small sound echoing in the vast silence of the courtroom, I squeezed my eyes shut. I could hear George's voice in my head, clear as a bell. "Helen, you were always too trusting." He was right. Damn it, he was always right. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, a relentless, irritating drone. The clock ticked, each second a stolen moment. I pictured David and Brenda already planning their next vacation, sipping Mai Tais on some tropical beach, courtesy of yours truly. Maybe Brenda would finally get that designer handbag she'd been drooling over. Probably Gucci. Always had expensive taste, that one. Even before they got married, she was hinting that she needed new tires on her Lexus. I was trapped. Like a fly caught in a spider's web, struggling against the sticky strands, knowing that escape was impossible. The judge spoke, his voice low and measured.
Based on the evidence presented, including the power of attorney document and the video recording, the court... He paused. The bastard was milking it, drawing it out for dramatic effect. I could feel my blood pressure rising, my arthritis acting up in my left hip. I needed my Earl Grey. I needed a long hot bath and a good book. Instead, I was here, about to lose everything. Prepared to what? To strip me of my independence? To declare me incompetent? To hand over my life savings to those greedy vultures? Suddenly, a flicker. A tiny, almost imperceptible spark of defiance ignited within me. It was a fragile thing, easily extinguished, but it was there. A reminder that I wasn't dead yet, that maybe, just maybe, there was still a fight left in this old broad. He was about to say it. I knew he was. Rule in favor. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the frantic beating of my heart. Was there anything I could do? Had I been too complacent, too trusting, too old? Of the plaintiff. The word hung in the air, heavy.
Damn! The word hung there, plaintiff, a death knell to everything I'd worked for. The room started to swim. I focused on the grain of the wood on the table in front of me, the swirls and knots blurring together. It smelled faintly of lemon polish, like my own dining room table back home. Home. Would I even have a home after this? I stared blankly ahead, feeling utterly defeated. My gaze drifted to Brenda, sitting smugly beside my son, Michael. She caught my eye and gave me a saccharine smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. A smile that said, "We won, you old biddy." The audacity of that woman. I could almost smell the perfume she was wearing, something cloyingly sweet, probably cost more than my monthly Social Security check. It was all so surreal, like watching a movie, but I was the one on the screen, the one being devoured by the wolves. Michael, bless his heart, looked a bit less triumphant. Guilt, maybe? A flicker of something resembling remorse? Probably just indigestion from that greasy burger he had for lunch. He always did have a weak stomach. I remember when he was a little boy, barely tall enough to reach the counter, begging me for an extra scoop of ice cream. And I, like a fool, always gave in. Because that's what mothers do, isn't it? We spoil them. We love them unconditionally, even when they're stabbing us in the back with a power of attorney bought and paid for by a gold-digging shrew. The judge cleared his throat, preparing to deliver the final blow. I closed my eyes, bracing myself. I imagined the headlines. Local woman loses everything to son and daughter-in-law. I could almost hear the whispers, the pitying glances. Poor Helen, always was a bit dotty. Dotty my foot. I was sharper than any of them gave me credit for, even now. Suddenly, a commotion erupted from the back of the courtroom. A loud voice boomed, cutting through the silence like a chainsaw through butter. "Objection, Your Honor, we have new evidence." My eyes snapped open. What in the Sam Hill was going on? The voice belonged to a woman I didn't recognize. She was tall, imposing, with a no-nonsense haircut and a briefcase the size of a small suitcase. She pushed her way through the gallery, scattering lawyers and spectators like bowling pins. Brenda's smug smile faltered, replaced by a look of confusion and, dare I say, a hint of panic. Michael just looked bewildered, like a deer caught in the headlights. "Who is that?" I murmured, more to myself than anyone else. The woman reached the front of the courtroom and addressed the judge directly, her voice ringing with authority. "Your Honor, I am Detective Reynolds with the Atlanta Police Department. We have reason to believe that fraudulent activity has been taking place in this courtroom." Fraudulent activity? What was she talking about? Was she here about the jewelry? But I hadn't reported it stolen until, well, this morning. Detective Reynolds fixed Brenda with a steely gaze. "Mrs. Peterson, you are aware that it is a crime to knowingly present false information to the court, are you not?" Brenda's face paled. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper.
Perhaps this will refresh your memory, Detective Reynolds said, reaching into her briefcase. She pulled out a small velvet box and opened it, revealing a glittering necklace. This necklace, Mrs. Peterson, do you recognize it? Brenda's eyes widened. I've never seen that before, she lied, her voice trembling. Really? Because we have security footage from a pawn shop on Buford Highway showing you pawning a necklace that looks remarkably similar. In fact, the pawnbroker positively identified you. And furthermore, he also confirms that the necklace he gave you money for was a fake, costume jewelry. A collective gasp filled the courtroom. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a jolt of electricity coursing through my veins. The tiny spark of defiance within me flared into a roaring flame. Brenda was sweating now, her meticulously applied makeup starting to run. Michael just looked numb, with his mouth hanging open like a carp. Detective Reynolds continued, her voice relentless. And that's not all. We also have evidence that Mrs. Peterson and Mr. Parker knowingly misrepresented Mrs. Parker's mental state to obtain a power of attorney, which they then used to attempt to gain control of her assets. This constitutes elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy to commit fraud. All federal offenses. She turned to the judge. Your Honor, we request that this case be dismissed immediately and that Mrs. Peterson and Mr. Parker be taken into custody for questioning. The judge, who looked as stunned as everyone else, finally found his voice. Detective Reynolds, do you have sufficient cause to believe these individuals are a flight risk? Yes, Your Honor, we believe they have access to significant funds and may attempt to leave the jurisdiction. He nodded grimly. Bailiffs, take them into custody. Two burly bailiffs stepped forward and placed handcuffs on Brenda and Michael. Brenda started to cry, loudly and dramatically. Michael just looked numb. As they led them out of the courtroom, Brenda shrieked, "Mom, help us! Tell them it's a mistake!" I just stared at her, my face impassive, and I said, "Sorry, sweetie. Look,
Lord have mercy. You could have cut the tension in that courtroom with a butter knife, honey. Brenda and Michael, looking like they'd swallowed lemons whole, were being led away by those bailiffs. Brenda's wails echoing off the high ceilings. Honestly, the performance! You'd think she was being dragged to the gallows, not just facing charges." I sat there, trying to project an air of calm, though my hands were clammy and my arthritis was acting up something fierce. Detective Reynolds gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod, a silent acknowledgement. My lawyer, Mr. Peterson, no relation, thank heavens, patted my arm reassuringly. But inside, I was a whirlwind of emotions, relief, vindication, but also a deep non-sadness. My own son, reduced to this? Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the entrance to the courtroom. All heads swiveled. It was Jerry. Jerry freaking Miller. Now, Jerry is my neighbor. Bless his heart, he's a good man, but about as subtle as a foghorn. He's always puttering around his yard, bless him, humming off-key show tunes while battling dandelions, and he always has an opinion, usually delivered at top volume. He's one of those people who thinks he's being helpful when he's actually just, well, annoying. He's also got this weird obsession with technology, always buying the latest gadgets, even if he doesn't know how to use them. I swear, he probably owns every drone and gizmo on the market. He came huffing and puffing into the courtroom, his face red, his tie askew. He was clutching a small black case, looking like he'd run a marathon to get there. "Your Honor! Your Honor! Wait!" he shouted, his voice cracking. "I have evidence! I have evidence that proves Mrs. Parker is of sound mind." The judge, who was already dealing with a full-blown circus, looked like he was about to lose his ever-loving mind. "Mr. Miller," he said, his voice dangerously low, "this is highly irregular. Who are you, and what is the meaning of this outburst?" Jerry puffed out his chest, trying to catch his breath. "I'm Jerry Miller, Your Honor. I'm Mrs. Parker's neighbor, and I have video evidence that will prove beyond any doubt that she is perfectly capable of making her own decisions." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Video evidence? What in the world was Jerry talking about? I certainly hadn't asked him to do anything. Mr. Peterson gave me a questioning look. I just shrugged, completely bewildered. Detective Reynolds, ever the professional, stepped forward. Your Honor, with all due respect, this appears to be rather, unorthodox intrusion. I'm not sure what relevance Mr. Miller's evidence could possibly have at this point. Jerry, bless his cotton socks, wasn't deterred. He stood his ground, clutching that black case like it was the Holy Grail. Relevance? Relevance? Your Honor, this is crucial. They were trying to say Mrs. Parker wasn't compos mentis, that she couldn't manage her own affairs. This video proves otherwise. He fumbled with the latches on the black case, finally managing to pop it open. Inside, nestled in foam padding, was some kind of small, high-tech camera. One of those fancy ones, I reckon, with all the bells and whistles. I installed a security camera on my property a few weeks ago, Your Honor, for security, to keep an eye on things. Well, it just so happens that the camera also captures a portion of Mrs. Parker's backyard, and I've been reviewing the footage regularly. It might have been the new bird feeder I installed, or it might have been simple neighborly concern. He paused, taking a deep breath. And what I saw on that footage, Your Honor, was Mrs. Parker engaging in perfectly normal, lucid conversations. She was gardening, reading, talking on her iPhone, even negotiating with the cable company about some ridiculous charge on her bill. Perfectly normal activities for a woman of her age. And what is more, she was doing it all without any assistance or prompting from anyone else. He aimed the camera at the judge. I've downloaded the relevant clips onto this memory stick, Your Honor. You can see for yourself. It's irrefutable proof that Mrs. Parker is of sound mind. The judge looked from Jerry to me, then back to the memory stick. The entire courtroom was silent, hanging on Jerry's every word. Even Brenda and Michael, who were standing near the door waiting to be escorted out, had stopped shrieking and were staring at Jerry in stunned silence. Mr. Miller, the judge said slowly, are you saying that you have video evidence that directly contradicts the claims made by Mrs. Peterson and Mr. Parker regarding Mrs. Parker's mental capacity? Yes, sir, absolutely. It's all right here, Jerry exclaimed, holding up the memory stick triumphantly. I could feel a flicker of hope ignite in my chest. Jerry, bless his meddling heart, might have just thrown a wrench into Brenda and Michael's whole scheme. But the question remained, what exactly was on that video? And how could it possibly exonerate me further than the...
Well, bless his heart, I muttered, more to myself than anyone else, though I knew a few of the ladies in the front row were listening with rapt attention. Bless Jerry Miller's meddling heart indeed. I'd been so focused on my own little schemes, the fake jewelry, the pawn shop receipts, that I'd completely overlooked the obvious. That busybody had his own security cameras. Jerry puffed out his chest, clearly enjoying the spotlight. Your Honor, he continued, his voice booming through the courtroom, Mrs. Peterson's video, while compelling, was taken before the alleged incident, before Mrs. Parker supposedly lost her marbles and started handing out family heirlooms like Halloween candy. He paused for dramatic effect, and I could practically see Brenda's face turning a shade of purple I didn't think humanly possible. Michael looked like he was about to faint. Oh, this was getting good. On the day that Mrs. Peterson claims my client was incapable, I was, in fact, mowing my lawn. As you know, Your Honor, I take pride in my lawn, the kind of pride that makes a man invest in a top-of-the-line John Deere and a state-of-the-art sprinkler system. He was going off on a tangent, but I held my tongue. Let him have his moment. The point is, Jerry continued, finally getting back on track, my security cameras were running, and they recorded everything, including, and this is crucial, the audio. He leaned in conspiratorially.
You see, Mrs. Peterson, in her infinite wisdom, chose to have a conversation with Mr. Parker right next to my property line. A conversation, I might add, that was picked up crystal clear by my outdoor microphones. A conversation, I might add, that was about their little plan. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Even the bailiff seemed interested now. Jerry turned back to the judge, a smug look on his face. What you will hear on that memory stick, Your Honor, is Mrs. Peterson coaching Mr. Parker on exactly what to say to Mrs. Parker to convince her to give them the jewelry. You will hear her instructing him on how to manipulate her, how to play on her emotions, how to make her feel guilty. You will hear her, in her own words, outlining the entire scheme. I swear, you could have heard a pin drop. Brenda looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole. Michael was just staring blankly ahead. They were cooked. The judge, looking intrigued, nodded slowly. Mr. Miller, are you absolutely certain of this? Your Honor, I stake my reputation on it. I even had my IT guy clean up the audio so you can hear every word. It's damning, absolutely damning. Like something you'd see on one of those true crime shows or Dateline, honey. He gave me a quick, reassuring wink. The judge turned his attention to the memory stick. Very well, I will review this evidence immediately. Bailiff, please ensure that Mrs. Peterson and Mr. Parker remain in the courtroom. He gestured to his clerk, who scurried over to plug the memory stick into the court computer. The tension in the room was so sick you could cut it with a butter knife. I folded my hands in my lap, trying to appear calm, though my heart was pounding like a hummingbird's wings. The next few minutes felt like an eternity. The judge, his brow furrowed, listened intently to the audio recording. He occasionally glanced up at Brenda and Michael, his expression unreadable. Brenda was now whispering furiously to Michael, who looked like he was about to bolt for the door. Finally, the judge removed his headphones and cleared his throat. Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Parker, I have listened to the audio recording submitted by Mr. Miller, and I must say, I am disturbed by what I have heard. He turned to the jury. Given this new evidence, the video evidence that was submitted earlier is inadmissible. It was clearly recorded before the alleged fraud took place. Brenda let out a strangled cry. But she's crazy! She's always been crazy! That old biddy is not mentally stable! The judge slammed his gavel down. Silence! Mrs. Peterson, your behavior is completely inappropriate. Based on the evidence presented, and in light of the newly discovered audio recording, I find in favor of Mrs. Parker. Relief washed over me in a tidal wave. I could have cried. That interfering Jerry Miller, that nosy neighbor, had actually done it. He'd saved me. The judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, he continued, his eyes narrowed, given the evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud and elder abuse, I am ordering the immediate arrest of Mrs. Brenda Peterson and Mr. David Parker. Two burly bailiffs stepped forward and placed handcuffs on Brenda and Michael. They didn't even resist. They just looked defeated. Brenda was sobbing. Michael was just staring the floor. As they were led out of the courtroom, Brenda turned to me, her face contorted with rage. You haven't heard the last of this, you old witch. You just wait and see. I just smiled sweetly. Oh, I'm sure I haven't, sweetie. I have a feeling this is just the beginning. As the bailiffs dragged Brenda and Michael away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. They thought they could pull a fast one on me, an old woman on a fixed income. They thought they could get away with stealing my jewelry and my peace of mind. But they were wrong. Dead wrong.
Lord, that was a circus. You wouldn't believe the performance Brenda put on. Screaming about witches and curses. honestly sweet. She's watched one too many of those Lifetime movies. I settled back on my porch swing, Earl Grey steaming in my favorite china cup. The azaleas are in full bloom this year, a riot of pink and purple. A little peace and quiet, that's all I wanted. Jerry Miller even brought over a plate of his wife's pecan sandies, bless his heart. Said he felt bad for being such a busybody, but I told him he'd done me a real service. My arthritis was acting up something fierce, though. Probably all that tension. I rubbed some of that menthol cream on my knuckles, the smell instantly familiar. Back in my day, we didn't have all these fancy creams, just good old Ben Gay. My iPhone buzzed on the table beside me. Ugh. I hoped it wasn't more calls from distant relatives suddenly interested in my well-being now that they thought I was rolling in jewelry money. It was a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, then answered. Helen Parker speaking. Mrs. Parker, this is Detective Reynolds with the Atlanta Police Department. I'm calling regarding the case of Brenda and David Parker. I took a sip of my tea. Yes, Detective? Has Brenda already started filing frivolous appeals? That wouldn't surprise me one bit. No, ma'am, nothing like that. We're still processing them. But during the booking process and subsequent interviews, some discrepancies came to light regarding the pawn shop transactions. Discrepancies? What now? Go on, Detective. I'm all ears. Well, Mrs. Parker, it appears that your son and his wife were involved in more than just trying to pawn your jewelry. The pawnbroker recognized Brenda, said she'd been in before bringing in similar items, claiming they were inherited family heirlooms. Only the descriptions didn't quite match what she pawned this time. My heart started to pound. What are you saying, Detective? We're saying that it looks like your son and his wife were part of a larger operation, Mrs. Parker. A fraud ring, specializing in selling counterfeit or stolen goods through pawn shops across the metro area. The items they brought in weren't just limited to jewelry either. There were electronics, tools, even some household appliances, all likely obtained through fraudulent means. I felt a chill despite the warm Georgia sun. David, involved in something like that? I knew he'd made some questionable decisions, hadn't always been on the up and up. He'd always been a bit of a smooth talker, like his father, God rest his soul. But this was a whole new level of wrong. Detective, are you telling me that my son was a criminal? The words felt heavy, like lead in my mouth. It's still early in the investigation, Mrs. Parker. We're trying to determine the full extent of their involvement. But the evidence suggests they were more than just pawning your jewelry to make ends meet. They were actively participating in a criminal enterprise. He continued, we found several burner phones on their property, each with different prepaid accounts. The payment history on Brenda's Zelle account showed multiple transactions with individuals we're now looking into. And there was a ledger hidden in the back of their linen closet detailing the items they pawned and the amounts they received. It also had coded entries, which we are trying to decipher. It's all pointing to something bigger, Mrs. Parker, much bigger than just your jewelry. I closed my eyes, the image of David as a little boy flashing through my mind. Him with that gap-toothed grin, always getting into mischief. How did he end up here? How did my son, the boy I loved and nurtured, become part of something so ugly? Detective, I said, my voice trembling slightly. Was anyone else mentioned? Did they mention other names? I thought about that phantom factor my son had referenced a few weeks ago before he knew he would be arrested. Yes, ma'am, they did. We are following up on those leads as we speak. It seems the money was going through several different banks. One in particular, Wells Fargo, seems to be a hub for the operation. We are working with the bank's fraud department and the FBI now. I see, I said, but I didn't see it all. My head was spinning.
This was beyond anything I could have imagined. Mrs. Parker, we may need to ask you some more questions in the coming days about your son, your relationship with him, anything that might shed light on his activities. Of course, Detective. I'll cooperate in any way I can. I just want to understand. How could this have happened? We'll do our best to find out, Mrs. Parker. In the meantime, please be careful. We don't know who else might be involved or what they're capable of. He thanked me for my time and hung up. I sat there on the porch swing, the Earl Grey gone cold in my cup. The azaleas, once so vibrant, now seemed dull and lifeless. David and Brenda were just the tip of the iceberg, but what was hidden beneath